This is the premier event where the future of learning unfolds before your eyes. As we gather here today, we stand at the threshold of a new era in education, one defined by innovation, collaboration, and boundless potential. In this dynamic landscape, traditional paradigms are being reshaped and new possibilities are emerging at every turn. It's a thrilling time to be involved in education, and this conference is your gateway to the forefront of transformative change. So buckle up and prepare to be inspired, challenged.
All right, the question is, what aspects of leadership development in the military could be effectively transferred to an educational setting?
Let's see if it works. Oh no, I don't like it. I'm just it's fine. It's fine. So one area that the military in particular focuses on fantastically, and regardless of whether it's in corporate leadership or educational leadership, I feel this is neglected. You know, it's the idea of reacting to stress, and I don't mean the long-term debilitating type of stress. I mean the short-term flight or fight response you get when all hell breaks loose, when something seriously goes wrong. And in the military, in the British Army, we have a term for it, and it's called flapping. And I won't do the impression for you, and this is perhaps insight into the military's dark humour, but flapping means when you take the head off a bird, of a chicken, it will flap for about 30 seconds before it stills and quietens. And so if you're accused of flapping as a leader, they're saying that you're making noise, but you've lost your head. You're not helping the situation at all. And that's the worst thing that you can be accused of, in my mind, as a leader, because the defining trait of a leader, and the thing that separates great leaders from good leaders, is their ability to remain calm under pressure. It's the ability to make a good decision when everybody else around you is losing their heads. So that's something we really focus on, and you develop it by continually exposing yourself to stressful situations. And the military has to do this out of necessity because of what you're training for. But actually, in the modern day world, it's just as important, regardless of whether you're a surgeon who is operating on somebody who is going to make a split-second decision that may lead to somebody losing their leg or not, or you're a trader who is making a split-second decision that could lead to millions of pounds going one way or the other, or whether you're a teacher in a classroom and somebody is undermining your authority and they're criticising you and they're shouting out, and you've got that split second where you respond, and you may have lost that student, but every other student in the class is looking at you as a leader to see how you respond. may be the difference between you keeping control of that classroom and losing control of that classroom. And I'm very mindful of the fact that while I'm coming from in the military, that's something we really focus on. And
something for me, having 22 years of running an organization, having these now military background people in key leadership positions, there is a difference. I have not put my finger on it exactly. It probably is the real world experience, is what I would guess. And the things that they're able to accomplish without much help from me at all is amazing. So I know that you're onto something, and I can't wait to see what research and programs you come up with in the future. It's great. All right. Further to elaborate on that, what changes do you see need to be made, especially at the university level, in order to prepare students for real-world leadership?
I think that to have real-world education, there are three main components. We need to have experiential learning, we need to have global inclusion, and we need to have emotional intelligence. Children in the K-12 system need to be trained and have an educational journey in that manner. And teachers need to be trained how to do that, and they need to have their education in that manner. So, for example, I provide opportunities in the classroom to try out real-world situations. What would you do? Let's do some role-playing. Let's do some case scenarios. What would you do if you have this situation with your student and their parents are in this situation and this is going on in the board? And, everybody has this going on in their personal lives, and everybody in the classroom has to have a different role, and you take it to the boardroom, and how would this unfold so that they can actually see what it's like in the trenches when you're in a classroom teaching. And I like what Tom said about like a diamond is made under pressure. Experiential learning, I think, is so important, which includes hands-on learning, interactive learning. It's not just about textbooks and worksheets and slideshows and that types of thing. It's actually applying what you've learned. And, innovation is growing at an exponential rate. And more than ever, it's necessary to have creative and critical thinking abilities. So if we want our future leaders to have those abilities, we have to provide those opportunities in our classrooms. That includes our teachers who are being trained for the future. When I was teaching in the K-12 system, I created a unit on the rainforest. And so we spent some time talking about the culture of the rainforest. We integrated science into it because we studied the plants and the animals in the rainforest. We interjected creative writing, what would it be like, an adventure in the rainforest. And then I threw in an actual experience of where we went out into a forest that was close by, and they had to practice survival skills. We set up the rules ahead of time of, how they would implement it. And then we, later on, they built fort shelter, kind of like the show Survivor. I don't know if any of you are familiar with that. But later on, we talked about what it would be like to have to survive in the jungle. And that learning experience, it made it come alive. All that science that they learned, all that they learned about the culture of the people that live in the rainforest, it came alive, and they'll never forget it. Those are the kinds of things that we need to be doing in our classrooms so that learning takes a real meaning. It is long-lasting, it's engaging, and so that it's, instead of one-dimensional, it's three-dimensional, and it becomes so much richer, so much deeper. And so we need to be training our teachers how to do that. It includes tapping into community, changing hours of instruction in the classroom. School systems need to support that. Our resources need to be different. Anyway, that is kind of my background.
I love how it's problem solving. So I love that. It starts small, build a shelter. Wow, that's definitely a real world leadership experience. I would just say,
programs for them to go back to corporate. We're partnering with universities to make sure there's a good transition between universities or colleges, call it a foreboarding. You're exiting as a student, but you're foreboarding towards onboarding into corporate. Start in organizations, in educational systems, universities, build programs that are experiential, dealing with stress, emotional intelligence, social intelligence, and influencing skills. When I do executive coaching, senior leaders come to me after, already being in a position power. They say, Maria, am I a good leader? I get this question every month. Somebody pops out, am I a good leader? And then I look at the background, how they grew up, what they studied, how they studied. Oh, I read a lot of self-help books. Self-help books teach you the what. Nobody teaches you the how. So people like us in this room, we're here to gear up and teach the how.
That in the student to be a great leader. So one of them is actually improve their communication. So how we do that? Improve their communication for me as an educator by providing them the environment where they can work together, communicate, and also to be comfortable between each other. College is also using simulators and all of that in order to create a real life scenarios while not putting the student under the risk. So one of the things, like for example, I am teaching radiography and I teach ultrasound. So one of the things is, instead of just taking the student immediately to the ultrasound room and make them, scan the patient, what they do is go through the simulator where it's like the phantom simulating a patient, and they can scan through it, find the pathology and all of that. The most important thing is to be resilient in the face of challenges.
Because experiences are what give you the confidence and the ability to apply what you know in a practical, meaningful way that leads the next future generations.